So, Leeds United go top of the table, courtesy of a 1-0 win over West Bromwich Albion. A big win, and also, Darren, the first team to beat West Brom this season. So, is it one of those where you get the feeling of more than just the points?
Yeah, you do, yeah. I mean, last season I thought Leeds were head and shoulders above everyone. And I remember saying that whoever finished above Leeds would ultimately go up. And obviously it did. It was Norwich and Sheffield United. And I think this season is the same again. I think Leeds, the way they play, again, are head and shoulders above everyone. So I think it was a massive statement win to beat West Brom, who hadn't been beaten this season, who were playing some good stuff. But I think at the minute, just Leeds, the way they're playing, the players they've brought in on loan. I mean, to get Eddie Costa, I think it was his first start of the weekend. For me, they're the favourites again this season. I think beating West Brom will show the rest of the league, and that's a massive statement for me.
But we watched it, Shaun, didn't we? They had to work for it, didn't they, Leeds? They had to work hard.
Yeah, as Darren said, you know, Leeds moved the ball. They moved the ball about really well. I like the fact that they're just a brave team, because it's easy, as we know, the Championship is a very difficult league to win. And it's easy to sort of just go back to front, win second balls, and then slide people down the side and they get crosses in. But they're brave with it. They're really brave, and they get on the ball, and you know, they seem to have the odd times I see them play. They seem to have this plan A, and plan A is plan A all the way through. You know, so they.
Well, that's Bielsa, isn't it? He only knows. Yeah. He refuses to play any other way.
And it's. You know, I see a lot in Pep in that way. You know, Pep.
Yeah.
Yes, there are tactics that are major things that make changes in the game, but again, it's about total football. So it's no. You know, I remember early times of seeing Pep, and I thought, we've got to go long, and it still passes.
Stick to your beliefs.
Yeah. So I respect that, and for me, I'd like to see them go up, because I think that they're a team that you can see going up, and I know it's early days. But they're a team that you can see that can still do well in the Premier League, because they have that belief to stick to that.
You're right. It is early days, but look how tight it is at the top of the table. I mean, literally, you throw a hanky over them, couldn't you? It's so tight at the top of the table there.
It is. I mean, there's some teams out there. I mean, you'd expect Leeds and West Brom to be about there. Forest are going really well. Fulham, Preston.
Fulham started to pick up, haven't they?
They have, yeah. I mean, they're keys to obviously Mitrovic and Kearney. They're their best players. But it's nice to see Charlton up there, obviously, doing well as well. But I said the Championship, as you said, is crazy. I mean, we know full well that it's not about what you do first half of the season. You have to put a run together from March to the end of the season, and ultimately that team always seems to get promoted.
You say it's not about the first half. Is it not true, the old saying, though? You can't get promoted in the first half, but you can lose the chance to.
Yeah, I fully understand that. Get as many points as you can, but what I'm saying is I've seen so many teams. It happened to Leeds last season. Outstanding for the first half of the season.
They run out of steam?
Run completely out of steam, and then they lost a period of games where Sheffield United and Norwich capitalised, and they can never recover. And I think that went over into the playoffs of when they played Derby.
OK, let's have a look at the bottom half of the table as well, because there's some very, unfortunately, obvious strugglers right now. And poor old Nathan Jones can't get Stoke City going. Beaten tonight 1-0 by Huddersfield. Rock bottom. Shaun, do you fear for him now?
Yes, I do.
It's been the talk for several weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, I see not tonight's game, but the previous game, I saw when I saw them play at Stoke, he has this energy about him. He has, he was really, they went on and scored. They scored the opening goal, and he's really trying to get the crowd to get behind it. But it was just much of it wasn't much of anything really in terms. It was a lot of grit. It was a lot of determination. But there wasn't quality on where they could open up the teams, and so I think that's probably where he's fallen down. And players, you can't fool players. Players know if you're coming with some real knowledge as a manager, or if you're just giving the general, listen, turn them down the sides and get the crosses in.
Hoping more than anything.
It's more hope, because players are just aware and more intelligent about tactics of the game. So I think. I don't know the dressing room. I don't know him in particular, but that may be where he's fallen down.
To be fair, like obviously I know some players in that dressing room, but I know some of them will definitely be trying to hide behind him. So rather than take responsibility.
In what way?
Rather than take responsibility for their own performance on the pitch, they'll be listening to outside influence. Like obviously a lot of people will be speaking about Nathan Jones, and I know Nathan Jones well because I had him at Brighton, and a lot of people say, well, he's taking all the flack, so we'll hide behind him, we'll hide behind his tactics. His tactics ain't very good. He's not getting the best out of us. And when you're in a
poor, isn't it?
It is poor.
Yeah.
But when you're in a relegation battle, you can't be like, you've all got to be pulling in the same direction, or you've got no hope. Because at the minute, you'd have never expected Stoke to be rock bottom of a table with I think they've only got 2 points. I mean,
but
that's scary.
But is it not Nathan Jones Jones's job to have all those lads on side. That's part of his job.
It is part of his job, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. Whether it's a lack of respect or players who have come down from the Premier League feel, well, how can you...
And because having come from where he has, do you think perhaps some players have felt they're bigger than that?
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's disrespectful, but unfortunately, it's part and parcel of the game, and it's how people think.
They're not buying into his philosophy and whatever it may be. When he first comes, he has this energy and belief, and players are sort of observing. They're like, okay, well, what's the gaffer coming with? We've had different managers. So as players, you're always willing to be challenged. And if after a period, you may get some lucky results and performances, you're still on side. But when you realise, actually, this isn't stretching you as a player. You're not learning anything. You're just, to use saying old-fashioned football, players get bored of that. You have to be winning in order to accept it. And if you're not winning, then you're sort of like, no, I'm not really feeling your manager.
Right now, he'll be finding out in his squad who's onside and who's not.
Yeah.
Because he'll be able to address by training, mentality in training, performances in training, and performances in game. He'll be able to tell who's with him and who's not.
Would you expect, though, Stoke City, the owners of Stoke City, who up until the last few years tended to stay with the same manager for long periods, do you think that they potentially might be as equally unimpressed with some factions in the dressing room and stand by their man? Or will they look at that table and just say, listen, it might not be right, it might be the wrong thing, but he's got to go?
Potentially. Rock bottom of the Championship is not a good look. Obviously, you're right in what you're saying, is that they usually stick by their managers for long periods. Even sometimes when the fans turn on the manager, they still give him a little bit longer. But this situation, being rock bottom of the Premier League and not rock bottom of the Championship, and knowing where Stoke have come from, being in the Premier League for so long, got relegated, to be bottom of the Championship, they might think, well, we've not been here before, so maybe it is time to pull the trigger. You hope they're going to give him the opportunity to get himself out of it, but it's timing.
Yeah. I'd like to see them have some patience, and it's easy sitting there saying have patience because, again, Stoke see themselves as a Premier League team.
Maybe that's the problem.
And yes, that will be part of the problem. You've got to win your battle in where you are. You can't play Premier League football, but you're in Championship. You can, but you just got to win.
Yeah.
You just got to win the games you're playing, and then deal with the Premier League beliefs and ego side of it as a club after. But they've got to win their games, build some confidence, some momentum, and I'd like to think that they give managers a little bit more time because it is easy sitting there and saying, well, the results ain't going well, and just dismiss the manager because a new manager comes in and yes, they get some upward movement in terms of results, and sometimes it works out, but. I'm sure he's at home thinking of everything, what he can do differently to change it around.
You could almost have been describing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. As you were saying that, I'm listening to you and thinking exactly that. Came in, got some good results. Now they have 9 points from their opening 7 games in the Premier League. This is Manchester United's worst start to a season for 30 years.
I need a pause so that I can just digest a bit. Well, listen, every manager that goes into a game, you hear into a club now, they talk about projects. Well, Ollie's got a proper project, and this isn't a 2-3 year project. He's going through the transition of moving players on and going a lot with youngsters. The problem I see with United is the youngsters the quality of the youngsters they used to have back in the day? And for me, I don't think so. And so it's all right saying or using young players, but they're not Man United quality or Man United quality we've known certainly in the past, and I think that's a big part of their problem.
I wonder though as well. With obviously he's brought Daniel James, has been sensational, been brilliant. McTominay's come in and done really well. Mason Greenwood. I wonder if he got these players in, but not necessarily to play now, but to get them integrated in the squad. But he's ended up having to use them a lot more because everyone else is underperforming.
Or they've been sold.
Yeah, or there's that. So for me, I just feel that he's probably looked at Mason Greenwood and thought, right, I know he's a very good player, but he's not ready to continually play now. Daniel James, I bought him as a project, as you said, for later down the line. And McTominay, he probably himself didn't expect to play as much as he is, but they've ended up coming in there, playing with no fear, playing really well. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's probably thinking, well, I've got to use them now. Like, these are 3 of the better performers. If you look at McTominay the other night, it was brilliant. Great goal he scored. Mason Greenwood's been scoring important goals in the Europa and in the cup competitions. And Daniel James has been sensational in the Premier League. So he's probably brought these players in and thought, well, I can't leave them out now because no one else is really performing.
Yeah.
When you looked at that game last night, what did you make of, I mean, let's be brutally honest, the quality on offer?
It was really poor. It was really poor, and you know, Arsenal will go away thinking or being happier with it. But when I looked at United, I think of Rashford, and I see all the ability and the quality that he has when I see him play for England, and you just think, and he's done it at spurts in United, but he seems to lack a real creative player. And Pogba, when he plays, he's got that quality of pass, but it tends to be coming from a deep area. And not only that, I think Pogba hasn't performed to his best because I think around the club there isn't a great deal of belief in him and love for him. And so therefore, as a player, if I'm playing and I know there isn't a great deal of love for me, I'm going to perform probably 60% of my potential. But when he plays for France, and we say, is that the same player? That's because people believe in him.
But don't top players say, OK, there's a few here not having me, as they say, I'll prove them wrong?
Yes.
Stick your chest out, go and make them love you.
I think it's too many people, it's too many negatives. And what I mean is, all the legends at the club, I can't recall not one of them speaking highly of him. And, this guy's won the World Cup. He's won the World Cup, yeah, so this is a player.
People speak of Pogba very highly, playing for his country, not for his club.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair to him, I think there also isn't the same quality around him.
Yeah.
So when we have the Man United conversation, it's about quality. It's lack of quality. It really is. And so for Rashford, I feel a little bit sorry for because he probably can't get the service that he requires because he does. When I think of Man City or I think of Liverpool, their players are getting service and chance after chance. United's so far off it,
Could you honestly say that Arsenal are that much further ahead of Manchester United? Or indeed, are they? Or are they about the same?
No, I mean, when I watched the game last night, the first thing I thought of was just, I couldn't believe how far these two teams have fallen. Like, we were talking about two of the powerhouses of English football. I mean, I remember them two going head-to-head. It was Manchester United, Arsenal. And all of a sudden now, they're getting... that teams like Leicester are pipping them at the minute, playing better than them. West Ham are above them. These things never used to happen. But for me, as you're saying there, I agree about the quality and Rashford, but also as well, I mean, Rashford as a footballer, I think he's brilliant. Great touch, speed, can dribble, can hit the ball with both feet. Sometimes I do wonder though about his positional senses in putting himself in positions to score more goals.
I've got two top strikers with me. What is he? What is Marcus Rashford? What is his position?
For me, wide left. I don't think he's got that ruthlessness enough. Like, obviously, watching Shaun when I was growing up, like, ruthless, always put himself in a position where he knew that he was going to score goals. For me, Marcus Rashford will score goals in spurts, but as far as balls getting flashed across the box, putting himself in positions where the next touch is a finish, he very rarely does that, which is why a lot of the time the ball go wide and I'll see him hanging on the edge of the box. Like, he'll get the ball to his feet, get at his feet and hit a lovely shot, but how many times are you going to score that a season? 2-3 times?
Yeah. I actually had the privilege of seeing Rashford do a little bit of stuff pre-season, spoken bits to his agent, and some of the stats that were coming back about Rashford's finishing in terms of, with comparison to all the other players in the England squad, was that his stats were higher in terms of hitting the target. But I believe, probably out wide. And I say that because he takes the responsibility on to help the defender out, and he has the great ability to be able to come in off the line. And there isn't the responsibility of scoring 25 goals out wide. He could have the responsibility of still scoring 15 goals and is way within his capability to do that as a wide player. So for me, I've always heard people, former United players, legends, say Rashford will always play up top. But I haven't really asked him or heard him say I prefer to play up top. So maybe it is his preferred position. But
I think he actually says I've always wanted to be more than just a goal scorer. I like to contribute. I don't think he has that mentality of an out-and-out number 9, like a Harry Kane mentality. I don't think he's ever spoken like that.
Yeah, it was a brave. I mean, not a brave decision, but in terms of I could see why Ali said I'm going to put all my eggs in the basket of Rashford. But he had no cover, i.e. if Rashford ran a few games and didn't score, or he decided, okay, I'm going to move him out of stand, move him to the wing, you know. So selling Lukaku, I think, is in hindsight, is looking like they should have kept it.
How far away are those two teams, do you think? I mean, challenging for the title, presumably light years.
Yeah.
Would you say that there's a more than half decent chance of one of them not finishing in the top 6?
Yes, potentially. There is a potential of that, because you look at the teams that are above them. You look at, obviously, Manchester City and Liverpool. Them two are light years ahead of everybody. You've got, obviously, Spurs are in there. Spurs are going to be in that top 4. Leicester are going really strong. Yeah. West Ham, obviously, there. So you'd have to think, well, that's 5. So Chelsea, they're coming along. I mean, a lot of people writ them off, obviously, because they couldn't spend anyone, and Frank's doing a sensational job down there with the youngsters. So they're going to be in the mix. So I just feel at the minute that they both could miss out. And it's scary to think, for Manchester United or Arsenal not being in the top 6 is scary. But again, that's just down to, obviously, the state of where they are at the minute.
Is now, though, a really good examination of the coaching abilities of both Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Unai Emery? Because you can't do anything until January. You can only work with what you've got. So will we find out more about both of them and their abilities now?
Yeah, because as you said, you can't. We're finding out about Frank right now, because he can't sign anyone. Look what he's doing. Yeah. A sensational job now. These two, you have to say that their squads are not. When you look at player for player, I mean, look at Unai Emery. He's got, obviously, Aubameyang there who can score the goals. Defensively, yeah, they've always been a bit suspect, but they're better than they were. In midfield, they seem to be getting that going with Guendouzi and these players. So I think the squad's good enough there. It's now down to him to get a team out there that's hard to beat, but can also go out and score goals. And I feel against United, they started to show signs that they are defensively getting a lot better. They understand what they're doing. I just wish sometimes, when they're trying to play out from the back, it's a bit risky. And I wish sometimes they'd go, right, well, you know what, it's not on, let's not force it. Because I think sometimes he tries to overplay out from the back, even when it's not on.
I think they don't have the quality sometimes to do it. So you're right, sometimes they shouldn't be taking your risk. I think his qualities will either be highlighted in terms of this period now, because he's got a, you know, they've got to have this true identity on what United are. When he had that great run when he came in, it looked like United. I remember seeing balls going in the box. I remember seeing 5 bodies in the box, and that reminds me of old United. And you're thinking, okay, yes, part of that is forcing errors on teams, but when you play against Pep Guardiola and you Klopp, these managers are on another level. You can't play that old style way and, you know, just throw bodies, because they will hurt you and expose you. So I think it's going to be an interesting period now for Ali to show his tactical side and show that he can get results a bit the old way and also the new way, as in being able to play and break teams down.
OK, we're going to continue talking coaching and man management. After the break, we'll talk Chris Wilder and his blunt assessment of Dean Henderson.